Saturday night was supposed to be go time for NASCAR in Daytona, but for the second week in a row, the rain played a factor and postponed the Cup race to Sunday afternoon. By the halfway point, forecasters believed more rain was on the way, causing everyone to try to race to the lead rather than the checkered flag. With 33 laps to go, Lightning moved into the area and put the red flag out for safety of the fans. During the waiting period, rain came through and NASCAR lost the track to the weather. With the race more than halfway over, officials declared Xfinity Series regular Justin Haley the winner, getting his first win in 3 Cup Series starts. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Ross Racing, brought to you by Rockingham Dragway. I'm Matt Harrelson, of course, alongside with me for the ride, Russell Parker. Now, as we just mentioned, Justin Haley, a non-Cup Series driver, gets the win at Daytona, but it was due to the controversial lightning red flag. So to break it all down, we have to go back to the big one that took out numerous drivers in the race. While under caution, drivers got a 1-to-go signal from NASCAR, and many of them, including race leader Kurt Busch, went to pit road. Just after they did, officials received a notification that Lightning was within 8 miles of the speedway, and the red flag was thrown. Justin Haley was out front during this call and stayed in first until rain swept through. NASCAR called the race short. So, Russell, there are many fans out there who feel that Kurt Busch was kind of robbed of the victory due to the timing of NASCAR's red flag call, but you say otherwise.
Yes, I feel like that this was, first of all, I'm wearing red specifically with this red flag that we had that caused all the controversy, so I feel like it was fitting. But, Kurt Busch, everyone was playing a different strategy in this. Kurt Busch's strategy, understandably, nobody knew that this rain or this lightning was coming. I mean, they knew it was coming. They could see it off in the distance. But NASCAR's ruling is that if it's within 8 miles, if the lightning has been determined within 8 miles of the speedway, no matter what speedway they're at, if it's within 8 miles, they're going to have red flag the race for safety precautions. This is due to the fans being in the grandstands being really high up in the sky.
Metal.
So they want to get them out of there. They give them a warning. You need to get out of here. It's kind of up to the fans at that point if they leave or not. And a lot of them didn't, because there was actually some drivers who was playing football over the front fence there. So I guess it was like that. But for NASCAR, I mean, you got to look at it from a safety perspective. You know, they get different point. They're not going to get the notification until someone finally sends it to them. They have a special person who keeps up with that during the race, and they happened to told them right after they pitted. So I don't think Kurt Busch was robbed. Unfortunately for him, he just happened to go in at the wrong time. Personally, I feel like if you're a crew chief, you're making these decisions. You know that rain, weather, all that's potentially coming. You got to make that choice. Are you going to stay out and hope that you're going to be the front guy to win the race? Just like Justin Haley did and his team. That's what their call was. They had nothing to lose. That's why they stayed out there hoping that was going to happen. Kurt Busch's team, they felt like that they could continue on and throughout the race, that they'll get back going green again. And it just didn't happen. So it was just an unfortunate event for Kurt Busch and everyone else who went down pit road. But Justin Haley, of course, their team made the right call, and it just worked out in their favor.
So 8 miles for a thunderstorm with lightning, that's the magic number, is 8 miles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So do crew chiefs, do the crews, do they have access to the same Doppler that NASCAR is looking at?
What it is that NASCAR, there's a guy who sits up there with the official, and when he finds out, he tells that official, and that official sends that out into the radio. Okay. So everybody gets the information at the same time.
All right. I guess the thing I was wondering is, I think you brought it up perfectly, that Haley and his team had nothing to lose, so why not stay out there? For some of the front runners, so to speak, like Busch, they can afford to take your car into pit road. Yeah. Unfortunately, the timing, it was all about timing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there is also going to be a little bit of a delay between the lightning strike, the person who receives it, and then giving it to that person, and then giving it to the rest of the crew out there. So got to be a few minutes of delay there for all that information. And they're on the backstretch when they've got this one to go, and it probably takes them maybe a minute to get around to pit road where they come down. So, I mean, it's just all about timing, and unfortunately the timing was just not as fast. I don't think really NASCAR can do anything else to make it more faster to get that information. I feel like they probably got the best guys and the best equipment to monitor this type of situation. So I mean, like I said, it's just unfortunate. I know a lot of fans are really big on Kurt Busch right now because he's kind of taken that one car to the next level this season, and he's probably been the closest to winning a race that hasn't won a race. So understandably, fans are frustrated. But
Sure.
I mean, you also got a first-time winner, Justin Haley, an Xfinity regular, whooping up on the Cup guys for a change.
Exactly.
So it's like that. In my opinion, I think it was a pretty good storyline there for that for sure.
Absolutely. So Justin Haley now joins a special club, having won his first Cup race in 3 starts. But that's not all, as you have some stats for us on the Indiana native.
Yeah, so this guy's only 20 years old, winning his first
wow.
race, Cup race ever. He also works at a pizza delivery service in Indiana,
Awesome.
and he's only led 1 lap, and now it's this lap that'll win the race. His previous best finish in the Cup Series was 32nd at Talladega earlier this year. He's also the fourth driver in the modern era to win within 3 starts of a Cup race. And only the 20th driver to score his first career win at Daytona. And on top of that, the 77 number, his car number, that was that number's second win in NASCAR history. The last one being 60 years ago in 1959 with, I believe it was Joe Lee Johnson in Nashville.
If you say so. The thing I love about this is that he's a pizza delivery guy on his off time, which of course begs the question. I wonder if he drives delivering pizzas the same way he does on the track.
He's right now in the Xfinity Series. He's delivering 8th right now in the point standings.
Okay.
So he's doing pretty good on that there as well. So Sunday he's racing for money, and then he's also racing for money as well on Monday through Friday. So that's got to be a pretty exciting life for him.
Absolutely. Well, while Haley will not be playoff eligible due to his full-time season in the Xfinity Series, his victory does upset the playoff bracket and the point standings. Now, currently, Joey Logano, your man, leads Kyle Busch in the points by 18. In the projected playoffs, Ryan Newman is only 3 points above the cut line, with Daniel Suarez looking in from the outside, and Eric Jones, does he have a job? Does he not? He is only 13 points back. But speaking for Logano and Busch first, Russell, with the upcoming races ahead, who do you see coming out on top of all that after Indianapolis?
So we've got 8 races left in the regular season before we get to the playoffs. Indianapolis being that last one, and I kind of broke it down on where I feel like these guys will finish throughout the season. I've got Logano and Busch both winning at least 3 more races right now.
A piece?
Yeah, a piece.
Wow.
I just feel like they're pretty much the top guys, and Kentucky, I don't think either of them is going to get a win there. I feel like that's kind of a Brad Keselowski or Martin Truex track. New Hampshire, that's kind of Logano's home turf. I feel like he should win that, but Kyle Busch should get a top 5 easily. Pocono, we saw how Kyle Busch can handle Pocono earlier this season. I feel like he's going to be the top guy for that one as well. Watkins Glen, he finished in the top 3 at Watkins Glen last year. To Chase Elliott, who won that. I feel like Busch could probably win that, but I wouldn't discount Logano in that one. Michigan, Logano owned that track earlier this season. He can do it again. I don't see either of them winning Bristol, despite both of them that they can do it. But for some reason, it seems like Penske and Gibbs have always had some really rotten luck at this track towards the end of it. So I don't really predict them win that. Darlington, I think Logano gets it. Indy is obviously going to go to Kyle Busch. He seems like he owns that track now at this point.
All right, so expecting big things for Logano and Busch moving forward. So another question for you. Do you see anyone new getting a win before the regular season is over with and knocking out Newman, or perhaps he or the 2 below him could take that 16th spot? We see a lot of movement this time of year.
Yeah, obviously, I'm just going to discount the ones where I said Logano and Busch could win that, but that means there's only 2 tracks left for these guys to potentially win that. But like I said earlier, I think Kentucky that's coming up, I feel like that's Brad or Truex. But Eric Jones has only raced there twice, and he's got an average finish of a 6.3. So if not a win, a solid point save for him at this track coming up on Saturday. I don't really know if Kurt Busch raced really good at Bristol earlier this season. I think he could win that race, but I don't think it's going to upset the little bubble there at the bottom. I don't think it's going to upset that at all because he's already above that cut line, way above it. So if anything, maybe Eric Jones takes that spot. I mean, there's still a lot that can happen. Fortunately for them, there's no more wild card races like Daytona and Talladega. So kind of Watkins Glen might be the biggest race to watch in terms of maybe seeing a new winner, because road courses can produce new winners. We saw William Byron race really good at Sonoma along with Chase Elliott. Of course, Elliott has a win already, but I mean, I feel like you may see another Chevrolet win, but that right now probably goes to Kurt Busch.
Eric Jones, perhaps a guy literally driving for his job, though.
Yeah,
so
and that can always
motivation.
Yeah, that's a big motivator, and it's not unheard of to see that happen. So he could very well be that guy. Of course, Ryan Newman, he's moved over to a new ride this season, so he's kind of trying to prove himself. But he's also a very consistent driver regardless. So I feel like Newman can probably keep himself locked in there for that 16th spot.
All right, well, let's move forward. You've thrown a lot of names out there already, but let's get in the groove. Who you got this week?
For the Cup Series, I've got Corey LaJoie, who started 30th in the race, and the Cup Series race, finished 6th. I actually honestly didn't really like this guy when he first started in the Cup Series because he kind of I don't really know the whole story behind it. I thought that maybe he wrecked somebody intentionally to get into Daytona a few years ago. But he kind of made a point that you got to do what you got to do. So, yeah. But he actually had a really cool paint scheme this season. It had his face on it with a really big beard on the grill. So I kind of like him for that now. Yeah, it's a little bit different. But he did a really good job racing a solid race. And there's a lot of guys who finished in the top 10 that don't normally finish very high at all. So there's a lot of guys I could have named, but only get one for In the Groove. Right. But for the Xfinity Series, I've got a guy who Richmond County might know, and that is Stefan Parsons. Of course, he is I believe he is the son of Phil Parsons, the cousin of our local guy here, Keith Parsons.
Yeah.
And I believe he's also that would make him the nephew of Benny Parsons. So his first ever Xfinity Series race was at Daytona. I think he got called up for it because they needed someone to drive, and he accepted it. He didn't get into the top 10, but he finished 12th, started 29th. That's really solid for someone who started their first ever Xfinity Cup race at Daytona. So yeah, that's really incredible.
And like the Earnhardts, the Elliots, Parsons a big name when it comes to NASCAR and racing in general.
Oh, yes.
So. All right, well, NASCAR now moves on from a rained-out race at Daytona to the Bluegrass State for their 400-mile race at Kentucky Speedway. Now, the race is set for 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Now, Russell,
as long as we don't get no rain.
Exactly. Now, this is a 1.5-mile track. This should be the perfect racing conditions for the 2019 rules package, right?
I certainly agree with that because we saw what Kansas and Charlotte can do. Those races were at nighttime. Cool conditions. I feel like Kentucky's a little more further north, so you might get some cooler conditions at night than we typically would anywhere else. So I feel like that this is going to be one of the best races that's coming up, which is unusual to hear about when you think of 1.5-mile tracks. But this package has definitely made 1.5-mile racing a lot better to watch, a lot more entertaining. You're going to see guys a lot more closer with each other, trying to make passes a lot more. You're going to see a ton of that. I feel like if it's anything like Kansas, you're going to see a lot of drivers who move up to the front and you're going to move to the back. It's going to be a lot of that all race long, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for the fans.
And again, you hit the nail on the head. Weather, obviously, going to be one of, if not the biggest factor.
I haven't looked at the forecast yet, but, with the past 2 weeks now of rain, and I think we've already had 4 races already had a major impact from rain. So I don't think it's unheard of to happen as we come up this weekend. But who knows? Maybe it'll be all right for Kentucky.
I hope so. All eyes will be on the Doppler. Now, let's move to the Rock Block. Of course, brought to you by Rockingham Dragway and the RockinghamDragway.com website. Just like we mentioned every week, plenty going on, and this weekend is no different. First off, Saturday, the MXA Test and Tune is going to continue this weekend with the same rules that we've talked about for the last few weeks. Of course, if you want to read up on those, if you're planning on getting in, head on over to RockinghamDragway.com. Also this weekend, something different will be the Carolina Summerfest. Now, what this is, admission is $10. The test and tune portion is $15. Car show entry is $10. So obviously there's going to be a car show in there. Kids 12 and under get in free. The event will take place from 5 to 11 p.m. with food, vendors, two-step and limbo contest, models, and a DJ and sound competition. So sounds like one big party happening out there at the Rock.
And the weather looks like it's going to be pretty good for the weekend, so
fingers crossed.
Excuses for it.
Also taking place is the Rocking the Boosted Power Curve Streetcar Drag Racing Series. That's going to continue Saturday. Racing to fight cancer a quarter mile at a time. Now, cost for this is just $5 to enter. Or if you want to do the entire season, it's still continuing. That is $25. Track fees are $25 for a TNT fee. Sounds good to me. Again, all proceeds are going to benefit Fight the Good Fight, a local North Carolina charity helping those diagnosed with brain cancer. Gates will open at 4 p.m. across the board. Once again, if you want more info, head to rockinghamdragway.com. There's the Rock Block. All right. So, all 3 series are going to be in action this weekend, starting with the trucks on Thursday night, Xfinity on Friday night, and the Cup Series on Saturday night. Russell, who ends up in the winner's circle?
It's going to be a lot of fun every single night. I got for the truck series, I got Ben Rhodes. He's a defending winner from this last year. Usually when you see truck drivers, they don't typically return after a year. They kind of either move up or they kind of maybe drift somewhere else in the racing world. But Ben Rhodes is back, and I think he's going to have this track the best figured out.
Good. By the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, but great name for a racer.
Ben Rhodes? Ben Rhodes. For the Xfinity race, I've got Cole Custer, the 00 Ford. He's been kind of the guy that's been in Christopher Bell's mirror all season and kind of have his number better than anybody else. While Christopher Bell is the defending race winner of this one from last year, I think Cole Custer is going to have his number this time around. So I've got him. For the Cup Series, I know I've been debating between Brad Keselowski, who seems to kind of own this track, but Truex has kind of been kind of coming along as well. And I've got Truex winning this race, making it his, I believe, to be his 5th victory of the season.
All right, as we say every week, book it right here. Head to Vegas or AC and put some money down because Russell's got your winners for this weekend.
Whoever had Justin Haley win the Daytona race
won a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, that is going to do it for another edition of Ross Racing, just like the rest, brought to you by Rockingham Dragway. That is Russell Parker. I am Matt Harrelson. Hopefully, the rain will stay away at least enough to get some racing in this weekend.
No more red flags.
No more red flags. Maybe some more red attire next week. Stay tuned for another edition of Ross Racing.